The GPS died somewhere between nowhere and who knows where. My phone showed no bars, and the setting sun painted the autumn trees in shades of blood and rust. I hadn't seen another car for hours, just endless dirt roads, cutting through dense forest that seemed to grow thicker with each passing mile. That's when I saw the smoke. It curled up through the trees like a beckoning finger, and I followed it to a small cabin tucked into a clearing. The structure looked like it had grown there, weathered logs dark with age, moss creeping up the north side. An old man sat in a wooden chair on the porch, whittling something I couldn't quite make out. He didn't look up when I pulled in, just kept working that piece of wood with his knife. His beard was wild and gray, his skin tanned like old leather. I cleared my throat, and his eyes finally met mine, sharp blue, unnaturally bright against his weathered face. "Excuse me," I said, trying to sound confident. "I'm trying to get back to Highway 23. My GPS isn't working out here." He studied me for a long moment, knife paused mid-stroke. "Highway 23's about 4 hours back the way you came." He gestured with the blade. "Won't make it tonight. Roads ain't safe after dark." As if on cue, something howled in the distance, not quite wolf, not quite human. The old man's eyes flickered toward the sound, but his expression didn't change. "Got a spare room," he said, returning to his whittling. "Better than ending up in a ditch." I wanted to refuse, but the lengthening shadows and that inhuman howl made the decision for me. "Thank you, sir. I'm James. Folk round here call me Hermit Joe." He stood, revealing his impressive height. "Ain't got no phone service or internet, just peace and quiet." He smiled, but it didn't reach those bright blue eyes. The cabin's interior was sparse, but clean. A worn Bible sat on the kitchen table next to a shotgun that looked well used. Religious prints covered a corkboard on the wall, all depicting angels with flaming swords. The spare room was small, with a narrow bed and a window that faced the woods. "Lock your door at night," Joe said matter-of-factly. "Sometimes things get curious." I laughed nervously. What kind of things? He just looked at me, then closed the door. The scratching started around midnight. At first, I thought it was tree branches against the roof, but it moved, from the ceiling to the walls, circling the cabin like something testing for weakness. Then came the growls, barely audible but distinctly there, making my skin crawl. I heard Joe moving around in the main room, his heavy boots on the wooden floor. The shotgun's pump action racked once, loud in the darkness. The scratching stopped immediately. I didn't sleep. When dawn finally came, I practically ran to my car. That's when I saw deep gouges in the cabin's logs, fresh ones alongside older marks that had weathered gray. Whatever had made them had claws bigger than my hand. Joe stood on the porch, shotgun resting casually in the crook of his arm. The Bible was in his other hand. "Doesn't it bother you?" I asked, unable to stop staring at those claw marks. "Living out here alone?" He smiled that same empty smile. "Number, I've got everything a man could need, the good book and a 12 gauge. As I drove away, I glanced in my rearview mirror. Joe was still standing there, but something else caught my eye, a shadow moving between the trees, something tall and wrong-shaped. I pressed the gas pedal to the floor. I tried to forget about that night, threw myself into city life, into the comfort of streetlights and cell service and people everywhere. but in quiet moments. I still see Joe on that porch, his knife dancing across wood in the fading light. The claw marks in those logs are carved into my memory, deep as the scars they left in the timber. Some nights, I wake in a cold sweat to a familiar sound, scratching, soft and deliberate, coming from my apartment door. In those moments, heart pounding in the darkness, I understand why that old hermit lived the way he did. Because now, more than anything, I wish I had what he had, the good book in one hand and a 12 gauge in the other.